Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Andrés Spokoiny, President and CEO, Jewish Funders Network.
Thank you, Brett, and not just for this amazing presentation, but also for reminding us that in these dark and trying times, there are people with moral courage and intellectual integrity in your articles, in your presentations. You keep reminding us of that, so thank you. Now, every time I go to a Jewish conference, I get reminded of that sketch of the Monty Python when one guy tells to the other, I'm going to teach you how to argue, right? And it's very simple. When somebody says something, you just say, no, it's not. So the guy says, well, this is not argument, that's contradiction. No, it's not. So I'm very pleased to finally be in a conference that doesn't operate like that, in which people actually argue and discuss to make a difference and not to make a point, to look for truth and not to look for victory. So it's been amazingly inspiring to be here, and I'm honored to be here in part of this Z3 dream that it might have started as a conference, but it's now a movement that we should all be part of to redefine the boundaries and the content of the internal Jewish conversation and what it means to be a Jewish people in the 21st century. So thank you to Zach, Amitai, and all the team of C3 for putting this amazing conference together. And I'm also incredibly humbled to be having a conversation in a few minutes with Brett and with Yitz Greenberg and Ruth Gavison, that are titans of Jewish thought and people that I admired from decades. And a part of me still can't believe that I'm going to be sharing a panel with them. Now, Brett's presentation brought a different dimension to the conversation we're having. We're having about how to find common language. And Brett said, OK, but these are the challenges we're facing. And I want to posit that the threats, the challenges we're facing, feel way more dangerous precisely because we don't have the internal cohesion, because we have these internal divisions that don't let us face those challenges. Actually, in the past, threats used to be the big unifier of Jews. Now, they're the big dividers. As Brett was telling, Jews on the right use anti-Semitism to accuse Jews on the left, and vice versa, and eventually, we become much less effective in identifying those dangers and facing them. So the conversation about the threats we face and the conversation about our internal cohesion are interlinked. But they are linked in a deeper way. Brett was talking about how the far left see us and how the far right see us. At the core of the threats we're facing is a debate about the universal and the particular. For the left, we're too particularistic. We cling to our national identity, and all national identities are actually illegitimate. There has to be a multicultural paradigm where your allegiance is not to your nation or to your tribe, but to humanity as a whole. On the right, we're being accused of being too universalist. We're being called globalists. The term globalist is applied only to Jews as a derisive comment. So that mirrors also the debate inside the Jewish community. In the world, there seems to be two paradigms of what being a people is. One denies the right of being a people, the far left. Another one tells you that being a people denies the right and the capacity of being universal. The ethnocentric paradigm on the one hand, the multicultural universalist paradigm on the other. We in the Jewish community internally are starting to replicate the same logic. There's those of us who believe in an ethnocentric, tribalist version of Judaism and of Jewish nationhood, and those of us who think that maybe we should abandon all pretension to particularism and sort of melt in humankind as a whole. Now, we need to come up with a third way, both to have a much more robust and cohesive Jewish conversation, a much more meaningful one, and to have the strength to face the challenges that we are confronting. So, in the face of these two extreme paradigms, in the face of divisions inside the Jewish people, how do we create a new paradigm of peoplehood that both gives us meaning and strength, that articulates the universal and the particular, that is good for us, but that is also something that we can give and legate to the world? And how do we come up with ideas that are both meaningful and at the same actionable, things that we can take home and do as we go back to our communities and our institutions? These are the questions that we're going to try to address in the next few minutes in the conversation. So I will ask Yitz, Ruth, and Brett to come up on stage and join me to continue the dialogue.